Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Lessons in Attachment. Today, we're diving into something that so many of you will know all too well. We're going to be talking about worry and uncertainty, especially worry that shows up in your relationships. So, for example, I guess the question here is, how often do you find yourself trapped in a spiral of what ifs? Examples might be, what if they don't like me anymore? What if I've said the wrong thing? What if something bad has happened to them? What if they are the one and I've lost them? Why haven't they replied? What if I've messed it all up and they're just too polite to tell me? There are so many what ifs, and it will be outside of your relationships as well. What if I'm late for work? What if I get fired? What if I let someone down? What if they're mad at me? What if I don't know, trip and fall? And what if I run out of money? What if, what if, what if? And it is exhausting. You probably know that. If you've chosen to listen to this episode, you personally probably know how exhausting it is when you are stuck in that spiral of what ifs. It can feel unbearable. You're sitting there probably, I don't know, trying to watch something or trying to focus on something, but your thoughts are going 100 miles an hour. Your chest feels tight, your stomach's in knots, you feel sick, and you can't focus on anything else. You want answers, you want this situation sorted out, and you want it now. You want reassurance. You want, to be honest with you, this is only the introduction. You want certainty. That's probably what it feels like is going to stop this spiral. You want certainty. And the thing about this is, when you don't get that certainty, when you don't get clarity and you're in limbo, you actually might even think to yourself, do you know what? I'd rather just know that they don't like me than deal with this not knowing. So I wonder if that sounds familiar. And if it does, as always, one of the gems that I want you to take away, and one of the elements of self-compassion, is to know that you are not alone. You're not overreacting. You're not being dramatic. This is what anxious attachment can feel like. This is what worry can feel like. It is a overwhelming sensation of fear, uncertainty, and sometimes, depending on the scenario, at worst, it can be like a desperate need for answers. The good news is that this does not have to control you forever. Yeah, and that's what we're going to talk about today: why you feel this way, and the strategies you might be using to try and cope, and how you can begin to break out of this cycle of worry and overthinking. I really want you to take some gems away from this episode. It's here to give you some real aha moments, practical tools that you can start using today. Now, don't forget that I'm trying out something new. If you want to take this episode to the next level, you can download the free PDF version. It's got a summary of the key points, so you don't have to take all the notes, because that's what I'm like when I'm listening to a podcast. I'm trying to take notes. So you can download the PDF. It's got this PDF. It's got the summary of the key points, exclusive extras to help you put these attachment insights into practice. It's a way that I can help you to take the gems from this episode and future episodes and help you to make a real change in your life, because that's what I'm all about. I'm all about you learning, you getting your aha moments, but most importantly, creating real change in your life to know that you can have long-term change. You can grab that PDF now by going to the link in the description and signing up to my Lessons in Attachment newsletter. Okay, so let's dive in. Firstly, let me say that we worry when we're in a state or situation of uncertainty. Something's ambiguous. We're in limbo of some kind. And let me tell you about many people, but particularly the people that I'm talking about, which is those of you that really feel anxious in your relationships. Uncertainty, especially in your relationships, can be like an actual allergy. Like you are actually allergic to the uncertainty of this situation, the uncertainty of whether they like you, whether they're going to leave, whether you're going to get bored of them. That uncertainty can feel so uncomfortable, unbearable, like an allergic reaction. Okay. For you, I'm really think of what a allergic reaction is to something. Yeah. And that's what it can be like psychologically, physically for you when you're in that kind of limbo situation. Uncertainty in relationships for you triggers that kind of panic where your brain goes into overdrive. Am I safe? Do they love me? Are they going to leave me? When you don't get clear answers, it's like your system short circuits. Okay. And all you want to do in that moment is make this discomfort go away. I do not want to be in this uncertain situation. And so we're going to do whatever we can to get out of it. Now, this is not your fault. You probably know that I say this pretty much every episode about whatever it is that you and I are talking about, but this isn't your fault. If you're wired with anxious attachment, you're likely more sensitive to uncertainty than many other people. But trust me, you're not on your own. It's not just people with anxious attachment, okay? Like people that worry tend to really, really struggle with uncertainty. It's like your brain is scanning for danger, even when none exists. And when there's uncertainty, it will do that tenfold because it's trying to protect you from getting hurt. So, what happens in these moments of uncertainty? First of all, why don't you just check in with yourself and see how much you can answer this already? Like, what happens for you when you're in that state of uncertainty? Yes, you're worrying. And what are the things that you're going to do in those moments to try and get out of this uncertain situation, to try and get the answers, basically to chase certainty? What are the strategies that you use in your day-to-day life? When uncertainty strikes in your life, you probably have go-to habits for trying to make it go away. These usually feel really helpful in the moment, but over time, what happens is they actually keep you stuck in the same patterns. They keep the anxiety going. Can you believe that? The things that we do to try and make ourselves feel better when we're worrying can actually keep it going. It's not the easiest thing to hear, but don't forget that that's what you and I are here having this conversation for, because you're creating change. So let me just outline some of the most common things strategies, I should say, that people use to avoid uncertain situations. Checking, yeah, constantly rereading text, stalking their social media, looking for clues in their behavior, checking your emails over and over again, getting other people to check, reassurance seeking, asking them directly or subtly, are we okay? Do you like me? When am I seeing you next? Which is fine to ask, of course, but it's not coming from that place of security where we're, got our rights to ask these questions. It's coming from a place of insecurity. It's coming from a place of us needing the answers and the certainty right now. So we'll seek that reassurance to try and find out what it is that we need to know right now. We will get advice from friends, very kind of merged with that reassurance seeking. We'll run through every detail with our friends, asking, what do you think this means? I think it meant that. Someone else told me it meant this. When people are really in the thick of this, they'll often come to a session and say to me, but my friend said this, and my other friend said this, and someone else said this. I'll let you kind of come up with the reasons of why that can make things really difficult. Playing detective is another thing you'll do. Analyzing their tone, their words, how many emojis they've used, analyzing their actions, like you're solving an actual mystery, and you will find things. And some of it will be true, some of it will be like a maybe, some of it will be completely false, but you will come up with your own answers. And another thing that you might do is you might find that you actually avoid. So a common example here might be that you avoid dating. So for some, the fear of uncertainty becomes so intense that staying single feels like safer than taking that risk. You will avoid going for that promotion because at least this way I know that I don't have that job. At least this way I know what I'm doing tomorrow. I know the work that I'm going into, and I don't have to have that moment of uncertainty. We will stay put doing what it is that we're doing right now, even if it makes us miserable, because at least I know what to expect and there's less uncertainty. So here is, I guess, some of the gems that I want you to take from that. These strategies, okay, they can bring temporary relief. Absolutely. The avoiding in the moment, I might feel better because I don't have that uncertainty. If I don't go on a date, I don't have to guess if someone likes me or not. If I don't apply for that job, I don't have to have that moment of being unsure how the interview is going to go or if the interviewer liked me. So there's some temporary relief, but they don't fix the root problem and they keep the anxiety going. They feed into our cycle of worry and they keep us right where we are, right here in this moment, stuck where we are. And I know that that's often what you don't want. I'll tell you somewhere. This is okay, a little bit off topic, and I'll do an episode on this soon. But I've been doing a lot of research into anxious attachment and money. And just ask yourself now what fears and uncertainty and what if scenarios you have around money. And then you will see the avoidance of where you spend money on something that might just be a bit luxurious, a nice candle that costs that bit too much for you, that holiday. It is so interesting the way that we can have all of these worries around money and the strategies that we will have in place to try and protect it and try and hold on. More to come on that. But sometimes things come up for me in the moment, and just like to follow that and share that with you. So make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you're following me on Instagram, carly.ann_, if you want to hear more about the money topic. Okay, what's really important now is that we do begin to think about your journey of starting to tolerate uncertainty, because this is the thing. These strategies aren't helping, like I said. So we need to think about, well, what does help? And we're going to look at the idea of learning to tolerate those moments of uncertainty. That's what's key here. But before we do think about that, before I share a few ideas about how you can begin your journey to tolerating uncertainty and worrying less, we're just going to have an ad break because my course, Becoming Secure, is back. And I am so hopeful and determined to have some of you come and join me on the next round of Becoming Secure. Do you ever feel like your anxiety is taking over your relationships, whether you're dating, in a relationship, or even on the edge of a breakup right now? I know that struggle, which is why I created Becoming Secure. In my 10-week course, we focus on healing the past, understanding your thoughts and beliefs, and building a future where you can show up as your true self, all while practicing the tools to help you create a more secure, fulfilling relationship. What makes this course better than the rest is that Becoming Secure is not just about theory, it is experiential, because I know that you've read the books, I know that you've listened to the podcast, but real change comes from practice, the embodiment. If you're tired of overthinking, second guessing, losing yourself, it's time to break free from those patterns and step into a more confident, secure version of yourself. One who can show up fully, not just in relationships, but in all areas of your life, embracing everything that's waiting for you. If you're ready to trust yourself and create a life that's calling you, check the description for the details of Becoming Secure and join us for our next round soon. Okay, so hopefully that's given you a little bit of insight. You are very welcome to contact me and ask any questions, or if you want a payment plan or anything like that, you're very welcome to contact me and have more discussions around Becoming Secure. I am not a saleswoman. I'm not someone who has ever studied sales or intended to sell, be a salesperson. I mean, you can hear, don't even know how to talk about it. I'm a therapist first. And I know that on the course, it's incredible. How I get you onto the course is where I'm not so skilled. So, but for those of you that do come and join, I'm really excited. Anyway, let's think about learning or the solutions. I'm going to give you a couple of ideas around how to reduce your worry and manage uncertainty. Really, the only way to break free from this cycle, like I've said, is to start tolerating uncertainty instead of running from it. This doesn't mean that you suddenly need to be okay with uncertainty overnight. It's about taking small, intentional steps to build your tolerance, to make it so that you can handle, sit with, live through moments of uncertainty. And just like going to the gym, we strengthen this muscle of tolerating uncertainty through repetition and consistency and a willingness not to give up on ourselves. For me, I would say that one of the first things that you really want to do is become aware, start to reflect each day. You really want to start noticing what are the things that I'm doing to try and seek certainty. I've given you a list of the possible things, and they're in the PDF if you download that. What are the things that I am doing to try and create a sense of certainty? And when you've got that list, then what we want to do is really make it so that that's not the first thing that we do. So I'm someone that always keeps a list or always goes to my friend for advice. Instead of doing that, I'm actually going to try and just sit with the uncertainty. It might just be a case of putting it off for a time being. That's winning as well. Even if I turn to my friend in 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 1 hour or tomorrow, if I can put it off and practice sitting with that feeling of uncertainty and me having to deal with it, then that is progress. So you really want to experiment. This is a huge part of the work that I do with my clients. Let's say, for example, that you've sent someone a message and they haven't replied yet. We can all relate to this. It doesn't have to just be someone that we like romantically, it could be with a friend. So, normally, what you might do is check if they've been online, reread the last message that you've sent 5 times to see if you said something wrong. Text another friend to kind of dissect the situation or do a little bit of investigating. This time, what you're going to do, okay, is number one, you're going to notice the urge to check or seek that reassurance. Yeah, you're going to notice the urge and you're going to take a deep breath. Yeah. Notice that urge that your body has to do something and take a deep breath and say to yourself, this is uncertainty. It feels hard, but I can handle it. This is the actual feeling that I'm noticing. I'm noticing a feeling of uncertainty and it feels hard. And I'm noticing that I have this urge to do X, Y, and Z. I can handle this. And here's the part that can be quite difficult. Instead of acting on that urge, you're going to do something else. Now, sometimes that is just nothing. Believe it or not, there doesn't have to be some big tool or thing to do. Other times, if you've got the capacity or the space, it can be to go for a walk, to listen to music, focus on a task that brings you into the present moment, something that has meaning. You need to know in your life what is important to you so you can turn to this in these moments. It's going to feel uncomfortable at first. That's the point. So you don't need to say, but how do I self-soothe? Because it feels still really uncomfortable. Yeah, it feels uncomfortable. You're teaching your brain that you can survive uncertainty without needing to control it, without having to have certainty. So what experiment can you do with yourself this week? I am going to say again, becoming secure, we are literally going to be really looking at this together. It's one thing to hear me talk about this, it's one thing to have an aha moment and to learn about it. But becoming secure is all about actually installing this information and becoming what it is that we are learning about, to actually be able to practice this, to troubleshoot it when you've got questions or things aren't working for you, to have a space for me to be there and actually help you through this. The other thing that you can do, okay, so you've got the experiment, or you've got noticing the behaviors that you do to seek certainty, then experimenting and tolerating uncertainty. That's going to be one of the greatest things that you can do for yourself. Another powerful shift is to actually become friends with anxiety. Now, hear me out. Instead of trying to fight your anxiety, instead of being like the enemy of, or it being your enemy, I should say, what if you could find some kind of acceptance with it? Now, believe it or not, acceptance is actually a way to really be able to self-soothe. When you feel that worry stirring up, try saying hello. You want to really know what is the very first what if that you have. What's the first worry thought that you have? When you start to become aware of that, you're going to be able to be like, hello, anxiety. I know you're here because I'm having these certain thoughts and I'm noticing these thoughts. And I know you're here because you care about me. You want to keep me safe. You're worried about X, Y, and Z. Really communicate with it, by acknowledging it. Instead of pushing it away, you take back control. You communicate with that younger, hurt part of yourself that is anxious about something. Anxiety doesn't have to be the enemy. It can be a signal that we're stepping into something important, something worth learning to navigate. It can be a signal that the past is being brought up for us. Meet it with compassion. That's kind of like another idea, another bonus idea that I really want to give you today, as well as being able to tolerate uncertainty. If you worry and you obsess, there is a whole section inside my free workshop, Moving from Anxious Attachment to Secure, that you might also like and find helpful. So I would probably recommend that you watch that, spend an hour kind of going through it and really take in what works for you. Again, you can get that in the description as well. I just think that could really help with this idea of, one, becoming friends with your anxiety, but also being able to shift your attention from outside of you to inside of you. So how have you found this episode? Just take a moment to really ask yourself that. I don't want this just to be another thing that you learn and then you go and listen to the next podcast and you just take in more information, but long-term change is never really achieved. The thing about what we're talking about is that uncertainty is uncomfortable, but it's not dangerous. The more you practice tolerating it, the physical sensations that come with it, the thoughts that come with it, step by step, the stronger and more secure you're going to become. You can start small, okay? Let yourself sit in the unknown for a moment longer than you normally would, like I was giving examples of. Notice the anxiety and remind yourself that it's okay to feel uncomfortable. You've got this. You've got your own back. You'll be there for yourself like you would be someone that you really, really care about. Okay. What are your key takeaways? Please let me know. Carly.ann_ on Instagram. Or I think even I did actually see that on Spotify, you can leave comments now. You can leave them on YouTube. I just want to have that conversation with you guys. Do check out Becoming Secure if this has spoken to you, because I guess this is almost like, if you're someone who worries, overthinks, and obsesses, like this course is made for you. Thank you for listening to Lessons in Attachment. If this episode has resonated with you, I just want to say once more, it's an honor to be here. It's an honor that you choose to listen to this podcast. Be kind to yourself. Don't forget that you can download the free PDF version that's packed with a summary of key points from this episode, exclusive extras to help you put these attachment insights into practice. It's a way that I can help you take the gems from this and future episodes and help you to make real change in your life. You can grab that now by going to the link in the description. You will have a username and a password, and keep that safe. And every time you log back in, you're going to see the weekly PDFs, You'll then be on my newsletter where I send you 2 incredible emails each week, attachment focus. If you love this podcast, you definitely don't want to miss that either. Anyway, I am rambling. Thank you for being here. And do not forget this: when we trip, we get back up and we go again.